Hello, this is Agil from Academia, please. So today, 30th October 2022, we'll be discussing a total of 5 topics and all the topics are taken from the Hindu newspaper. Interested aspirants can download the PDF from this Telegram link. So shall we move on to the topics? So the first topic is Kalana Mark rice is now small, strong. So, before moving on to the details, let me explain what is meant by Kalanamak rice. This rice is grown in the Terai region, right? So, this rice it will have a weak base and the grains will be bigger. These grains will be bigger. So, due to the weight of this grain, this term is called as lodging. Lodging means it will be these grains will be bigger, so the weight will be accumulated here. This weight accumulation is called as lodging. So when the weight gains here, this plant will ultimately fall down. So this has become a huge loss to the farmers, right? So the Indian Agriculture Research Institute has successfully tested new dwarf varieties in Uttar Pradesh that gives double the yield. So, Kalanamak, a traditional variety of paddy with a black husk and a strong fragrance, which is considered as a gift from Lord Buddha to the people of Sravasti, where he visited the region after enlightenment, is all set to get a new look and a name. Grown in 11 districts of Terai region of northern East Uttar Pradesh and in Nepal. The traditional variety has been prone to lodging, a reason for its low yield. Lodging because of grain formation, the stem becomes weak and the plant falls on the ground. Addressing the problem, IARI has developed two dwarf varieties of Kalanamak rice. So this has been given the name as Pusa Narendra Kalanamak 1638 and Pusa Narendra Kalanamak 1652. 1638 and 1652. So this Narendra name is given in the recognition of his association with Acharya Narendra Dev University of Agriculture and Technology in Ayodhya. So as you can see, so we have read the term Terai region. So what is meant by Terai region? So, as you can see, this is Himalaya. Down the Himalayas, there will be big boulders. I think you have seen in the pictures, right? Or you have seen it directly. Big boulders. So when these big boulders came from the Himalayas due to landslide or due to waterfalls, many there are many reasons for it, and the waterfalls from these Himalayas comes and it goes inside the boulders, right? And it re-emerges in this Terai region. So it is a marshy region. It is useful for paddy growing and also for wheat growing, right? After the Terra region, the next region is called as Bagar. This is old alluvial soil and this is new alluvial soil. After that, we have Kadar region and the river valley. So Babar, next to Babar we have Terai region, and next to Terai region we have Bangar region. After that we have Kadar region. So we'll be moving on to the details again. The problem with the traditional variety of Kalanamak paddy is that it's tall and prone to lodging, which is badly impacted grain filling and quantity. So the traditional Kalanamak paddy's yield is barely 2.5 tons per hectare, right? So due to the new variety, we are getting about 5 tons per hectare, double the yield. So IARI director said that the objective to bring dwarfness into the variety and make plants steady to prevent lodging. So dwarfness is introduced in the grains. When the grains is made dwarf, it will not have the old impact of lodging, right? So The idea was to combine the quantity of traditional kalanamak with high-yielding varieties. Its grains are short. In this process, we did the breeding program by bringing the dwarfing genes from the rice variety Bindley mutant 68 and also the gene of Pusa basmati 1176. So, they have got the genes of rice variety Bindley mutant 68 and Pusa basmati 116, which was used as a parent to cross with Kalanama. So what they did was Bindley mutant 68 and Pusa basmati 1176. These rice varieties grains are short one in compared to the rice variety of Kalanamak. So what they did was they took the genes of these rice varieties, Bindley mutant and Pusa basmati, and they crossed it with the grains of Kalanamak, and the result was dwarf grain of Kalanamak rice. So the process started in 2007 when the first cross with the dark varieties was crossed up. For the last 3 years, the EARI conducted extensive evaluation with 10 Krishi Vigyan Kendras located in GI districts. So this Kalanamak rice has been granted GI tag, right? It was given to farmers. The aroma of new breed is higher and nutritional qualities are also excellent. Productivity has gone up to 4.5 to 5 tons. As I have already said, per hectare as against 2.5 in the traditional Kalanamak rice. So there has been an excellent results. They said that 75% of farmers use it to grow Kalanamak rice in the area, but of late the market for the variety has shrunk because of the recent lodging. So it has also high iron and zinc content. A prominent rice breeder, chairman of our research development, a former, we don't know want these details. We have been testing the variety since 2015. Yielding and cooking quality is good. Generally, this variety has been good tolerance to diseases. Lodging has been ruled out. Right? He said that adding zinc and iron content in Salanomak rice is higher than the other rice varieties. So they have also given to National Institute of Nutrition to check whether its nutrition compounds and glycemic index. If the glycemic index is low, glycemic means glucose content. So if the glucose content is low, it can be also used for the diabetic patients too. They have given to the National Institute of Nutrition. They will be testing and they will say the result. So this is all about this topic. So we will be moving on to the next topic. Curcumin hormone protects cattle from the diseases. So this compound is given to the cattle for certain diseases, and the disease and one of the prominent diseases is mass disease. What is meant by mass disease? So we have seen the cows will have mammary glands to give milk, right? So due to certain bacterial compounds, this mammal glands will inflate and it will result in low quantity of milk produced by the mammals, right? So this curcumin compounds will help in this inflammation disease of mammary glands. So we will be going on to the detail. So masters, researchers of Transdisciplinary University and Health Science of Bengaluru has successfully validated the immunodulation ability of natural phytochemical compound with curcumin as active ingredient. Right. So they have found the vaccination for the disease known as MASH disease, and the vaccination is done by the compound known as curcumin. So MASH disease by increasing the complementary protein, interferon, immunoglobulin, lymphocytes and monocytes, increase in calcium, phosphorus, and albumin globulin ratio, and the digestibility index substantially increased 10% increase in the milk production, right? So Antibiotics have been used to manage various infections in cattle. However, it has been noticed that uncontrolled use of antibiotics result in antibiotic resistance. This has been a new trend now, because if we have a small cold or small fever, we immediately will be using the antibiotics, right? So when we use antibiotics repeatedly, what will happen is the virus or the bacteria or the pathogens which affect our body will become a mutant, and it will overtake the effect of these antibiotics and it will affect our body. Simple concept. Suppose you are working in an area which is affected by smoke, right? At the initial stage you will find it difficult to work in these areas. Gradually, after 1 to 2 weeks, you will be accustomed to to that work, right? You will be accustomed to work in the smoke areas. It is called as mutation. Similarly, the pathogens also have this capability to pathogens has also have the capability to accustomed with the antibiotics. This is the topic. So the compound with the curcumin can be used to control mastitis as a prophylactic measure during prepartum and postpartum stage, along with the cattle feed under scientific management practices. So we'll be moving on to the next topic. So as you know, our Foreign Minister Jaishankar has called the ambassadors and diplomats of United Nations Security Council to India to discuss about the anti-terror methods. It is conducted in Taj Hotel, where we know the famous attacks of 26/11 happened, right? So also some meetings are held in Delhi. So there in Delhi there will be a declaration which is known as Delhi Declaration, and this Delhi Declaration focuses on threat from unmanned aerial system. So we know now terrorists are using new or recent technologies to attack India. So they will be they will be concentrating on unmanned aerial systems, UAV, online radicalization. They are extensively using their online systems like Twitter, Facebook for sharing their propaganda, and recruitment as well as terror financing through cryptocurrencies. So as technology is advancing, even the police and the military are also advancing their technology. Similarly, at the same time, these terrorists are also upgrading their technology. They're using new methods for recruitment, new methods for attacking, right? And new methods for sharing, spreading their propaganda. So our Indian Foreign Minister is conducting an program to, or is India or the Indian government is using a declaration to making aware of the new making aware of the diplomats the new use of technologies in the terror field. So what he emphasized is he called for zero tolerance towards terrorism. So, the terror groups. Mr. Jaishankar said that new and emerging technologies has enhanced capabilities of terror groups, particularly in open and liberal societies. Internet and social media platforms have turned into potent instrument of toolkit of terrorist and militant groups for spreading propaganda, radicalization, and conspiracy theories aimed at destabilizing the societies. The meeting, which was addressed by all members of Security Council, included minister level participation from Albania, Gabon, Ghana. So the ministers of these countries attended. Others are diplomats and minister level from Albania, Gabon, Ghana, UAE, and United Kingdom committed to end safe havens for terrorists and countering new technology being used for the terrorism. So the declaration is Delhi Declaration. Even though in the Delhi Declaration it didn't mention the detail of Chinese holding of terrorist in United Nations Security Council. It it extensively concentrated on the above details, right? So, the United Nations Security Council in the past two decades has evolved an important architecture built primarily around the counter-terrorism sanctions, the CTSR, right? So, United Nations Sanctions Committee, we know 1267 is used to sanction the group as well as individual members of terrorists. So, Delhi um, stated that the final Delhi Declaration on countering the use of new and emerging technologies for the terrorist purposes. The 35 paragraph of Delhi Declaration focused on threat from UAS, unmanned aerial vehicle, including drones, online radicalization and recruitment, as well as terrorist financing through cryptocurrencies and other virtual means. In the particular, CTC members referred to attacks in UAE, Saudi Arabia, as well as cross-border drone activity into India. So we'll be moving on to the next topic. A new target found to combat AMR salmonella. So on the second topic of today's second topic, we have discussed about antimicrobial resistance. Right? Due to extensive use of antibiotics, there has been a new resistance known as antimicrobial resistance. So, a disease known as AMR salmonella. It is a type of typhoidal and typhoid. It is a type of typhoidal disease, right? So, we will be moving on to the details. Emergence of drug resistance phenotype in typhoidal and non-typhoidal salmonella. It also has non-typhoidal typhoidal, which has increased difficulties including salmonella-induced foodborne illness. So you can see the word salmonella, similar to something like saliva, right? So when we think saliva, first thing that comes into our mind is food. So this is a foodborne induced diseases. So Salmonella typhimurium ST313, an invasive non-typhoidal Salmonella cervus, causes bloodstream infection in the malnourished and immune non-compromised population of sub-Sahara Africa. Recent studies supported the emergence of multi-drug resistance phenotype in Salmonella typhimurium DT104. So this is typhoid type of disease, and that is non-typhoid type of disease which causes infection in humans and cattle. So here you have seen a word known as multi-drug resistance. This comes under the AMR. So multi-drug resistance, and also another one known as XDR, extensive drug resistance. So what is meant by multi-drug resistance? When you study detailing about antimicrobial resistance, I will give a gist so that when you study you will understand what is meant by antimicrobial resistance, multi-drug resistance and extensive drug resistance. Multi-drug resistance mean here when we there are some certain antibiotics, and there are some certain important antibiotics, right? So important by antibiotics comes under two categories in tuberculosis. These are extensively studied under tuberculosis, right? So there are two diseases under tuberculosis which are important disease, and some other are non-important, but it is also used as a drugs in tuberculosis. So in MDR, it will not have impact on some of these antibiotics, but in extensive drug resistance it will not have impact on important to drug resistance itself. This is the difference between multi-drug resistant and the extensive drug resistance. So recent studies have reported the emergence of multi-drug resistance phenotype in Salmonella DT14, which causes infections in humans and cattle. Similarly, the MDR phenotype in the pathogen was produced by Salmonella genomic island 1 which confers protection against wide range of antibiotics including ampicillin, chlorophenocin, streptomycin, sulfonamides, and tetracycline. Further emergence of extensively drug emergence as typhimurium have multi-drug resistance and resistance against extended spectrum beta-lactamase and azithromycin in Africa poses a significant threat to the global health. So, when there is XDR type of drug resistance, it will pose a global threat to it will pose a global health threat, right? So, recent studies reported that an annual incidence of as many of cases 360 cases of typhoid fever per 1 lakh people with an annual estimation of 4.5 million cases and 8,930 deaths in India. So now let us concentrate on the story, right? The bacteria undergoes continuous adaptation to the available antibiotics, creating a risk of developing antimicrobial resistance to all drugs. This point we have already discussed. When the bacteria is continuously facing antibiotics, it will create mutation and it will be able to escape from the effects of antibiotics. The outer membrane porins of bacteria play an essential role in the survival of bacteria and the presence of antibiotics. So, consider this as an bacteria and this as an outer membrane. This membrane is made up of protein. This membrane is made up of protein. So, the outer membrane is made up of protein is specifically as protein A. Protein A restricts the entry of antibiotics into bacteria, thus improving the survival of pathogen. So, this protein A is a result of mutation, and this will restrict the entry of antibiotics into the bacteria. So the end result is these pathogens can survive and this will cause disease to the human body. Deleting the outer membrane of protein A from the salmonella hampers its survival to the presence of two bactolactam drugs ceftazidime and meropenem. So the researchers have conducted a research and they have created a new two drugs, and the drugs have a content known as beta lactam. Beta lactam. So these drugs contains the two drugs name is ceftazidime and meropenem, right? As you can see here. So the speciality of these drugs is it can remove this protein A cover from the bacteria. So when the protein A cover is removed from the bacteria, the antimicrobials can directly affect the bacteria and it can kill the bacteria. So removing OMPA resulted in greater intake of antibacterial drugs which ultimately kill the mutant bacteria. Administration of ceftazidime in mice infected with OMPA deleted the strain of Salmonella, cured the infection. The strategy of targeting the outer membrane protein A can be also used to develop novel antimicrobials for the other pathogens also. So this is all about this is all about the details of and neutralizing multi-drug resistant salmonella, right? So shall we move on to the next topic? So this is what explained here also. What they have explained here is explained here, right? So we are moving on to the next topic. Is the world's climate action plan on track? So the COP27 is going to be held in Egypt, right? In the city of Sharm el Sheikh from November 6th to 18th. Only 5 days more. So this topic is a hot burning topic. So in this editorial, what they are saying is the world doing enough to control this world's climate action plan? Right? So the participants of COPs are signatories to. So in this climate, in this COP, the signatories are the nation which are going to meet in this COP are signatories to UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which was adopted 30 years ago. At present, UNFCCC has 198 members. The first COP was held in 1995 in Berlin. For instance, the Kyoto Protocol was adopted at COP3 in 1997, committed industrialized economies to limit and reduce greenhouse emissions. So, industrialized economies has to limit their greenhouse gas emissions as the result of Kyoto Protocol. COP21, another significant conference, ended up with the 2015 Paris Agreement, in which member countries agreed to keep global warming below 2 degrees Celsius. So, important to COP are COP3 Kyoto Protocol and COP21 Paris Agreement. Right? Ideally no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to the pre-industrial levels. The previous summit hosted by Glasgow, the recent summit, which is COP26, is held in Glasgow, ended with the Glasgow Climate Pact for phasing down of unabated coal power. So, what is agenda of upcoming summit? COP27 will seek to strengthen the global response and deliberately if wealthy nations emitting carbon dioxide should compensate for the loss for developing countries with a lower carbon footprint. Broadly, the summit seeks to accelerate global climate action through emission reduction, scaled up adaptation efforts, and enhanced flow of appropriate finance. How was the world doing on the climate change since the Glasgow meet? The world has changed since the last COP Glasgow. So, extreme weather events such as events and scientific reports a stark reminder of devastating impact. So, we have been seeing in last few days itself there has been heavy rains, right? In India itself, if we can notice, there has been heavy rains. There has been mainly landslides in North India, right? Extreme heat during summers. We have been witnessing many events like this, right? A recent UN report has warned that efforts remain insufficient to limit global temperature rise to the 1.5 degrees Celsius as per the Paris Agreement, as per the COP21. The UN climate change report says that the world is failing to act with urgency to curb greenhouse gas emissions. The planet witnessing climate enhanced heat waves, storms, floods, after just 1 point degree Celsius of warming. So, accordingly, pre-industrial level means below one at the time of 18th, 19th century. During the 19th century, we have one temperature. So, from this temperature, now we have witnessed above 1.2 degrees Celsius rise in temperature. With this temperature itself, we have been witnessing many things like we have discussed here, right? So, United Nations climate change world is failing to urgency to curb greenhouse and the planet witnessing climate enhanced heat waves, storms, floods after just 1.2 degrees Celsius of warming. Even if the country meet their pledges, we are on the track for 2.5 degrees Celsius of warming. So, what they are saying is, even if we meet those pledges, eventually world will be heated by 2.5 degrees Celsius. This is a sad thing. So, here, what did the IPCC report state? This year's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change Assessment report stated that climate change has produced irreversible losses to natural ecosystem and warned of severe consequences to food supply, human health, and biodiversity loss if carbon emissions from human activity are not sharply reduced. As per the report, 3 to 14% of all species on Earth will face a heavy high risk of extinction at even 1.5 degrees Celsius. 3 to 14% of species will face extinction. It adds that limiting warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius requires global greenhouse gases emissions to peak 2025 and thus reduced by 43% by 2030. Coal-fired power plants operating without technology to capture and store carbon would need to be shuttered by 2050. A relevant warning relevant to India, which operates roughly 10% of global capacity. The World Resource Institute also paints a green picture in its report. It suggests that world needs to curb emissions 6 times faster than 2030 than the current trajectory. So, if we are now doing things to reduce the carbon emissions, the World Resource Institute released a report that the steps now taken, it should be more than 6 times the steps now taken to reduce the carbon emissions. So we have to fasten up our efforts to reduce the carbon emissions. Of the 40 indicators examined, none is in the track to reach 2030 target. So the world, eventually the report is saying that world is not doing enough to reduce the carbon emissions. Right? Mitigation measures to keep temperatures below 2 degrees Celsius and the need for climate change adaptation measures in this report are likely to come up for the discussion of COP27. Where does the India stand? India is one of the 197 countries that promised to limit the increase no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2030. Modi had committed at the Glasgow summit that the country would get its non-fossil energy uh, capacity to 500 gigawatts by 2030. Meet half of its energy will come from renewable sources and reduce carbon emission. So, what our Prime Minister has promised is our India will be having our India will be producing 500 gigawatts of energy from non-fossil fuels, and out of 100 percentage, 50 percentage will be used from non-renewable sources, right? So though India updated its climate pledges in line with the commitments made at the previous summit, experts have slammed New Delhi for not setting ambitious targets. So India is a huge country and it has a lot of technologies, right? Now we are emerging as a technological lead. So as per this statement, India has said that it will be become non-carbon emitter by 2070. It is a not ambitious target, right? United States have said that it will be getting non-zero, non-carbon emitter by 2050. China by 2060. These are not non-ambitious targets. It says India continued to support the coal industry, undermines a green recovery. India has previously come under intense criticism of its stand down to face down. So there has been two phrases. Environmentalists are using this phrase out, phase out, phase out, and India is using a term known as phase down. There is difference between phase out and phase down. Phase out means if we have five coal power plants, phase out means immediately closing these five power plants, and phase down means this year we will be reducing two coal power plants, next year one, and after that on the third year we will be reducing another two power plants also. This is known as phase down, right? The country is however expected to play a key role at COP27. A government official told that the key issue for adapting India at the summit will be financing both adapting to climate change and limiting fossil fuel emissions. And in previous COP21 summit, countries like developed countries have said that they will be giving 100 billion. They have not said, they have pledged. Note the word, they have pledged that they will be giving 100 billion to underdeveloped and developing countries to get new renewable technologies. But right now this promise seems to be failed, right? This is all about this topic. So interested aspirants can download the PDF from the Telegram link which is given above. So this is for all today. Thank you.